Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a review on the TV series The Time Traveler's Wife. So, before I head into my thoughts and my feelings on Season 1, I'm still not sure how to refer to this show. Season 1? Are we possibly going to get a Season 2? I have questions about that. We'll hash that out as we get through the show. But yeah, a quick disclaimer, I'm not really going to have spoilers in this review. I don't think. I'm still trying to decide. To kind of talk about some of my feelings, I might throw in a few little spoilers here and there, but like nothing like overly crazy that would ruin the show for you, if that makes sense. Like nothing like that massive of a spoiler, I don't think. But either way, if you're just worried about spoilers in general and you've not caught up with this show, or you plan on watching it at a future date, you might want to just steer clear of this video just in case something I say really just spoils it for you. So yeah, the Time Traveler's Wife. This was a 6-part. Once again, I'm not sure if it's a series, like a mini-series, or a season. We'll talk about that in a minute. Series that aired on HBO Max and starred Theo James and Rose Leslie, and it's based off of the book by Audrey, let me pronounce her name, Audrey Niffenegger? Is that how it's pronounced? And also, a quick disclaimer, you guys. This is my first experience with the Time Traveler's Wife. I never saw the other movie. When did it come out? I made some notes about when that movie came out. 2009. Is that movie that old? 2009? Yeah, I never saw that 2009 movie with Rachel McAdams and Eric Bana. I've always wanted to watch it though. It is on HBO Max right now, so yeah, now that I've seen the TV show, maybe I'll go back and revisit the movie and watch it and see what's different or the same. But yeah, I've never watched that movie, and I have never read the book either. So my opinions and my reactions are strictly just going to be based off of this show, because I have nothing else to base my opinions off of, since I've not read the book or even seen that other movie adaptation. So essentially what the show is about, I mean, it's all kind of there in the title, The Time Traveler's Wife. We follow a young woman named Claire who is in love with a time traveler, and she supposedly gets married to him at some time in the future. The Time Traveler's Wife. So, I mean, it's a very self-explanatory title. You pretty much know exactly what you're getting with their show. So, let me start off with the quick positives that I have with the show, because I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of ranting and complaining more than anything with this review, which might be terrible. I don't know. But yeah, let me get the positives out of the way. Let's start with a little bit of positivity here before I get angry. Angry might be too strong a word. For the most part, I did really like the show. I didn't like love it, you know, but I did still really like it, and I still really enjoyed it, and like I still enjoyed it to the point that I was very excited to watch it every week that it aired, you know. It was never like a chore. It didn't feel like a chore, you know. If you're watching a TV show and it feels like a chore, then something's wrong. So, I mean, it didn't feel like a chore for me to get through. I was still definitely having a great time with it, and I do think the casting was really well done. I love Theo James to bits. Oh my god, I love him. I am still devastated that he did not return to Season 2 of Sanditon, you guys, because why did he not come back to Sanditon Season 2 is because of the Time Traveler's Wife, and I am very upset and bitter about that. But that is a different discussion for another time, you guys. Let me chill. But yeah, I love Theo James. He is a gorgeous man, and if you want to see his fine ass every single damn episode, this is the show for you. Let's be real. And I also really like Rose Leslie. Really, the only things I have seen her in are Game of Thrones, obviously, and then when she was in, Season 1 of Downton Abbey. You know, sometimes I forget she was in Downton Abbey, and oh my god, I just had an epiphany. Theo James and Rose Leslie were both in, what was that, Episode 1 of Season 1 of Downton Abbey together? Oh my god. My mind, I need like a mind blown effect right here. Seriously, I just had an epiphany. Oh my god. Did anybody else kind of think about that as you were watching the show, about the two of them being on Downton Abbey together? Seriously, I need to process this for a minute. My mind is kind of blown right now. Is it just me? I liked the casting. I liked the supporting cast. I think everything looked great, you know? Costuming, hair, makeup, cinematography, whatever, you know, like kind of your basics. You know, your basics with the show, everything looked great. Oh boy, the writing. Woo, the writing. My biggest issue definitely was the writing on this show, you guys. It felt like a big hot mess at times. There were moments where I felt like the writing was genuinely really great and really well done, and moments where I think you could really genuinely connect and understand, and like really emotional moments, I think, you know. There definitely was some great moments of writing in there, but I think more than anything, there was just a lot of bad writing the majority of the time. To the point that sometimes it felt a little, I don't know, cringy, you know? Like, there were many moments where someone would say a line of dialogue, and I'd be like, ugh, that just sounds so weird. You know, like, I had a lot of moments like that something just sounded weird to my ear, or whatever. Just the way some of the characters would interact with each other didn't really feel believable to me, if that makes sense. There were a lot of moments where I was sitting and thinking, I don't think people really talk like this in real life to one another. If they do, there's something wrong. I don't know. And I think the biggest issue for me too is the fact that I think this show desperately needed a female writer. Because as far as I was understanding, when I was looking through like IMDb and whatnot, Stephen Moffat wrote every single episode, it looks like. And I definitely have my ups and downs with Stephen Moffat as a writer. Because for instance, when he wrote early seasons of Doctor Who, I really loved his early stuff that he did for Doctor Who, especially with David Tennant. And then with Matt Smith, when Matt Smith started on Doctor Who, I liked like that first season writing with Matt Smith. But then after that, I felt like the writing went down. And yet, Stephen Moffat wasn't responsible entirely for all the writing for all of that, because he was really more the showrunner, but still. And then, yes, Stephen Moffat did a lot of writing for Sherlock, correct? And yes, Sherlock had a lot of ups and downs with the writing. Like, it had a brilliant first season with the writing, and then things kind of slowly started going a little crazy with the writing. And then, the same with Dracula, because he did a lot of writing with Dracula, too, that came out back at the beginning of 2020, I think it was. Even the writing of Dracula was a little odd in places, for the most part. So yeah, I have always had kind of a love-hate relationship with Stephen Moffat as a writer, and those issues were definitely just all over the place in this particular season of The Time Traveler's Wife. Like I said, there were those really great high moments of writing, but then other moments it's like, oh no. And I mean, I don't want to be like sexist about it, you know. I hate for this to come across as me being kind of sexist about it, but I do feel that Stephen Moffat, he needed to have like a partnership with a female writer as well. I really felt like there needed to be a male writer and a female writer working together, since this show, the core of this show, the heart of this show, is this relationship between Claire and Henry, and how a woman is dealing with this situation, how a man is dealing with this situation. And I really feel like this show would have greatly been better served having a partnership between a male and female writer. So that way, like in the writer's office, you know, they could really kind of hash out plots and lines of dialogue, and how women would say something, how men would say something, how, you know, really kind of get into how a relationship would kind of work, if that makes sense, you know? So I think that is the greatest sin of this entire season, to be quite blunt about it. Just definitely Stephen Moffat is kind of the biggest issue with him writing every single episode, and I feel like there was just no presence of a woman in there to really kind of make things a little bit more believable, you know? And just kind of more with the writing. I mean, there were moments that felt just really over the top, or really melodramatic, and then moments that were supposed to be funny, but then moments that I don't think were supposed to be funny, like they were unintentionally funny. So like there was all of that going on too, that sometimes I was laughing and I found myself going, wait, I don't think I'm supposed to be laughing here, but I am. And then don't get me started with like Henry and Claire, just their relationship in general. Their relationship felt very just combative. For the most part, they were constantly yelling, constantly arguing. Once again, I really feel like there needed to be a female voice within the writing because it just felt like too much sometimes, and not very believable, because it kind of reached this point that I felt like Henry and Claire, once again, they're very combative. They're arguing and yelling the whole time. It kind of reached this point that I just kept going, why do I care about them as a relationship? Why should I care when they are just constantly yelling at one another and arguing, and a lot of manipulation. Seriously, don't get me started on the amount of manipulation going on within this relationship. It's like, do you all see the manipulation going on between you? It was just so all over the place at times. And then more with the writing as well, just a lot of things that were just so absolutely bizarre, you guys. I mean, the nature of the show in itself is rather bizarre, because we're introduced to Claire, and she finds out that she's going to marry this guy who's a time traveler and whatnot, and she has known this guy, Henry, since she was a little girl, pretty much. Since she was a little girl into her teenage years, and then when she's a young woman, she has known this time traveler her whole entire freaking life, just about. And she's kind of developed like this obsession almost with him. That's how it kind of came across to me, that she was obsessed with him. And she's obsessed with him, and she loves him, and it's like, to his credit, I always kind of got the idea with Theo James's performance that, you know, he was really trying to hold back and be a gentleman, and, you know, it's like he knew his place, like, okay, I'm from the future, this is a little girl, you know. But yeah, just a lot of times, just a lot of stuff that was just really bizarre going on with the writing once again here. You know, by nature it is a bizarre concept, especially with her being a little girl being in love with this older man, you know. I don't know, you guys. Seriously, there was just a lot of things about the show that felt like a hot mess to me. Now, on the plus side, I will give the show this, because whenever you have shows that deal with time traveling, you run the risk of being a little too confusing. So, on the plus side, this show, it was never confusing as far as the time traveling went. Because even if you started an episode off and you were maybe vaguely kind of confused about what was going on, the thing is, by the time you got to the end of the episode, everything that you were confused about at the beginning of the episode, everything was explained really neatly by the end, which I appreciated. So yeah, the time travel stuff was never confusing to me. I always thought, for the most part, that anything that was a loose end, you know, it got wrapped up, it got resolved, things were very neatly explained and organized, you know. So I will definitely give the writing that, because time traveling as a concept, as a genre, it can be very confusing and overwhelming, because you got to think about just all the little things that could happen and whatnot. And, you know, I mentioned Doctor Who earlier. There were many moments that I just kept reminiscing once again back to Matt Smith's era, him and Karen Gillan. There were just many moments that I was sitting there thinking, man, because the book would have came out, I believe, before that particular season with Matt Smith and Karen Gillan. There were just many moments that I was sitting there thinking, was Stephen Moffat inspired and influenced back in season 5 of Doctor Who by the Time Traveler's Wife? Because Matt Smith and Karen Gillan, they're kind of dynamic with one another, and the fact too that Matt Smith, the Doctor, he meets Karen Gillan, Amy, he meets her as a little girl, you know, and Amy sees the Doctor as like her imaginary best friend, and she develops kind of this obsession and crush on him and everything. There were just a lot of things as I was watching The Time Traveler's Wife that I just kept thinking back to season 5 of Doctor Who, that relationship between the Doctor and Amy Pond and whatnot. And I kept thinking, man, had Stephen Moffat read this book and The Time Traveler's Wife, and he's like, oh, I'm going to kind of do season 5 of Doctor Who similar to that, you know? I don't know. I'm trying to remember if interviews and articles with Stephen Moffat back when season 5 of Doctor Who came out. I'm trying to remember if he had mentioned anything about The Time Traveler's Wife. If anybody recalls that, send me the articles so I can read them. And one other issue I had with this show, you guys, since this is called Time Traveler's Wife, and the thing is, Claire, Rose Leslie, she constantly mentions, oh, this is a story about the Time Traveler's Wife. You know, she constantly mentions that. She mentions it several times in the season, like, this is a story about the Time Traveler's Wife. The thing is, I feel like she disappeared from her own story, you guys. Which, like I said, it's making me wonder, are we still getting a season 2? Because I still feel like there's a lot of things that are missing from this narrative. I really feel like Claire disappeared from this story, and I really felt like this whole season was very strongly focused on Henry as a character, because Henry is the time traveler. And the thing is, I found Henry to be the most interesting character, and I didn't find him anywhere near as annoying half the time as Claire, because there were just many moments, once again, because I think the writing was not doing her any justice. I was kind of just getting really irritated and annoyed with Claire and her attitude and personality about certain things. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed Henry as a character. I really liked his story and his background and his parents, you know, all that history with his parents, and how he deals with time travel, how he deals with the time traveling, the mechanics itself of the time traveling, which are so odd and bizarre. That it's more like a disease, you know. This show treats time traveling not as something cool and fun. It treats it as like this disease that is really horrible. And I definitely really liked Henry as a character, and I really loved Theo James's performance. And yeah, I really felt like he started to become the sole focus of the show, even though they kept saying, oh, this is the story of the Time Traveler's Wife. I felt like Claire disappeared. I'm going to my thoughts on, are we going to get a second season? Because I feel like there were a lot of things that were not totally wrapped up for the most part. A good chunk of stuff was wrapped up, but then there were other lingering things that I was like, okay, what about this? And a good example of that is Henry's feet, you guys. At the very end of episode 1, they showed a pair of feet on the ground. And I kept waiting for the season to build up to the feet, how he lost his feet. And it never got to that point. So, I mean, what's up with the feet? I was obsessed. I don't know why, you guys. I was just really obsessed with Henry's feet. Why did he lose his freaking feet? How did they get chopped off? Something obviously happened while he was in the midst of doing some time traveling, obviously. And then, yeah, also, too, the framing of the season. I did really like the framing of the season, because we're being told the story of everything going on pretty much in the future. Because we see an older Henry and an older Claire. They are talking to a camera the entire time, pretty much. They're narrating their history. And the thing is, who are they talking to? I kind of assumed they were talking to, like, their child or something. You know what I mean? I kind of kept thinking, oh, they've got to be talking to a child of theirs and explaining Henry's time traveling and their love story and their romance, you know. I don't know. You know, they never got to that. Why are they recording themselves? Why are they telling their story, you know? What's up with the feet? Once again, like I said, I'm obsessed with Henry's feet. So, I mean, there were a lot of things like that didn't get totally resolved or wrapped up, and I just still had lingering questions at the end of the season. So I'm hoping maybe there's a second season, because my understanding, when I was kind of reading some reviews about this season, the people who had read the book, it sounds like, made it sound like there was some stuff missing that definitely could be explored in the second season, like the second half of the book, I guess. So I hope there's a bit more resolution, you guys, because I desperately need it. And I really want to start liking Henry and Claire as a couple, you know, because I mean, though I did like them as a couple, there were still just, more than anything, there were a lot of moments that I was like, why should I care about them as a couple? They're just constantly arguing and bickering and yelling, and I feel like, and then even when they have moments where they do share some sort of emotional bond, it's like sometimes even then it's like, oh, it's still not enough for me. So I feel like I need another season, especially the way season 1 ends. If you know how season 1 ends, if you watch the show, especially how season 1 ends, where their relationship goes by the end finally, it's like, okay, now I need to see that. I need to see that part of their relationship now and where that's going. So yeah, I feel like this review is all over the place, you guys, and I feel like I've done nothing but complain about everything. But like I said, for the most part, the season was fine. I liked it. It was not a chore for me. And if there is another season, I definitely will eagerly anticipate it. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on The Time Traveler's Wife. In the comments below, I am definitely really curious your thoughts and opinions on this show. I'm very curious if you're coming from the point of view of someone like me, who never read the book, never watched the movie. You know, what are your feelings coming from that point of view? And then if you are someone who has read the book or even watched that other movie, I'm very curious, like, kind of that point of view as well. I'm just very curious people's feelings and the things that they loved and hated about this particular adaptation. I'm very, very, very curious, you guys, because like I said, I just feel all over the place about it. But yeah, you guys, that's it for this review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.